Darrell Williams, a general in Europe, one of our generals, he said it mirrors what they're doing in Europe, particularly in the UK and other places, Germany. So there's a pattern here, and we need to wake up.
President Trump finally threw in today. Just came across, I believe, President Trump, and I read this, mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shot them down. I think that, Dan Scavino, I think that's shoot. I'm not, far be it from me to grammatically correct the president on his tense, but then he signs a DJT. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. The president, Trump, who, by the way, I guess is the president since, has anybody had a run like this? He's in Notre Dame looking like Charlemagne. He's at the New York Stock Exchange ringing the bell, giving a great speech. He's got the Time magazine cover. That's the biggest power photo I've ever seen in my life.
What we're seeing is reports coming from all over the country seeing lights and immediately assuming they're drones.
And I didn't find anything to corroborate that these were planes. And I will say they didn't look or sound or act like planes. Like they kind of put your spidey senses up. You're looking in the sky and you see a plane all the time. You know what a plane is. You know what it sounds like. You know the speed. Your brain clocks that without thinking twice. Mm-hmm. And this was just weird. It was acting weird. But the crazy thing is, no one else noticed because I had been on the train and the Free Press had just published an article about this. And so I run the social media. So I posted the article on the train and I get off and I'm like, oh, let me just look at the sky and maybe I'll see something. And I seriously saw something right then. And I'm like, is it a drone? And then I see 3 more and I start filming. And no one else noticed. No one else was looking up. And again, if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't notice it because they look kind of out of your corner of your eye. They look kind of normal. They're blinking. Right. They're a certain size.
I know. The first time I saw them, I thought they were, someone pointed them out to me and I was like, oh, there's the planes. But then they started going in a circle instead of a landing pattern, which I thought was kind of weird.
We saw blinking, like lots of blinking things up in the sky to the south, right over the ocean.
Lisa Franciosi has seen a lot of eyebrow-raising things on the Jersey Shore, but nothing like this.
It really has been very disturbing knowing that all these drones are flying over the entire state.
Residents continue to question the large drones hovering just off the coast. They only appear at night, sometimes more than a dozen at a time.
There's a lot of people that are nervous in the state.
Even as authorities in Seaside Heights use drones of their own to try to get a peek of the flying objects, they still don't have answers.
Being out on the beaches, I've gone out with them on the beaches to observe, and they have had their sheriff's deputies and other law enforcement assets come forward and say, in one case, one woman saw 50 of them coming off the ocean. I talked to the people in the Coast Guard, who turned around and said that one of their boats was being trailed on their stern by anywhere from 12 to 30 of these. And I just got off the phone with the commanding officer at Naval Weapons Station Earl, a very fine officer, and he said that they're getting breaches into their perimeter, and there's weapons stored there by these drones. And one of them was 150 feet away from his guys, and they took a picture. I mean, why isn't the Department of Defense, and Austin in particular, Lloyd Austin, calling for bring one of them down? Find out and do it over an unpopulated area or over the ocean. Find out who's sending them. I mean, it's very, very provocative.
The drones have flown precariously close to critical infrastructure and sensitive military sites, like Picatinny Arsenal, which provides munitions products to all branches of the U.S. military. But the White House says,
we have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus.
Back in Seaside Heights, Sheriff Michael Mastronardi isn't convinced.
I've never seen 50 planes come over the ocean in my lifetime.
Would you ever consider shooting one down?
Yes.
Not even missing a beat with that answer.
Not missing a beat.
And the drone unit we met says these are sophisticated drones with a wingspan up to 8 feet. These drones can also travel much faster than the ones local authorities deploy. And even when they have gotten close enough to snap an image, the mysterious objects go dark.
And again, this is why I'm so upset with the Pentagon to just say, again, nothing to see here, puts our people at risk. They're probing, I believe. This is not Amazon looking to do, a sale of some goods and bring it in by way of a
But
drone.
Congressman, you mentioned a very
yes.
good point there. You touched. I didn't mean to jump on you, sir, but this idea of just willy-nilly flying so many drones in a tightly confined, densely populated area, there are rules in place for getting too close to an airport, public or private or anything in between. Yet we're told that a lot of these sightings have occurred over just such areas. There's got to be a law against that or a violation against that.
I think there's a violation. As a matter of fact, there is a violation. They just need to enforce it. But again, we need to identify, and then take appropriate action. We can't allow this invasion.
Also today, the Naval Weapons Station in Monmouth County stating, quote, "We can confirm multiple instances of unidentified drones entering the airspace above Naval Weapons Station Earl." The Biden administration said they have no evidence mysterious drones pose a national security threat.
There are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft.
So what are we seeing in the night skies from New Jersey to Pennsylvania to Delaware?
I want to pose a question that I think is on millions of people's minds around here. What if there were 3,000 reports of drones or manned aircraft sightings over the U.S. Capitol or the White House or the State House in Albany? What would happen? There would be an immediate and intense response to figure out what they were and to solve the problem. And yet, millions of people around here, New Jersey, of course, here in Staten Island, and beyond, are getting nothing but don't believe what you see.
I think it's a very threatening situation, and I am appalled by yesterday's statements by Admiral Kirby, somehow suggesting that nothing to see here. There's a whole lot to see here, Admiral, and we really, for the sake of national security, DOD has to be on top of this, and they have not been.
If the president, as commander-in-chief, believed, based on the information that he'd been given, that there was a national security threat at play here, or even a public safety threat at play here, he would issue the appropriate directives to not only law enforcement, but perhaps even the military if that was needed. I want to go back to something I said at the top. There has been no evidence of any of this activity in or near restricted spaces.
That's not what the senators said in the letter. They said, in fact, that they've been observed maneuvering near critical infrastructure, sensitive locations, including reservoirs and military installations, and cited a concern from law enforcement about public safety threats because a medevac helicopter was prevented from transporting a seriously injured patient for care because of the presence of these drones.
I stand by my opening statement.
Can you make that make more sense? Because I think people in New York and New Jersey see drones the size of an SUV over their house every night and think that that doesn't make any sense.
Certainly I understand why people would be looking at this and being concerned about it. We're concerned about it too, which is why we have the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, my goodness, looking at this. And we're taking it seriously. And we understand that people are concerned. We understand that they got questions. We got questions too. And we're working hard to get the answers to that. What I can tell you as we sit here today, at 2:16 in the afternoon on the 12th, is we haven't seen any indication thus far that there's a public safety risk, and we haven't seen.
The government know what they are.
We are still investigating this. I can't tell you definitively. I cannot characterize for you definitively what these sightings are.